You spend so much of your time trying to fix things that are not yours to fix. You try to change people, force plans to work out, or worry about problems you just can't control. This is what letting go of what you can't control is really about. When you hold on too tightly, life gets stressful and heavy. But when you finally decide to just let go, something changes inside you. You feel lighter, your mind gets clearer, and you start to find real peace. Just let go, and you'll see it. You can't control everything, but you can choose to stop carrying what isn't yours. That's how you find calm, hope, and a happier life. Attachment, the root of suffering. Why do we suffer when things do not go our way? Because we are attached. We bind our sense of peace to outcomes we do not command, and we fasten our happiness to things that were never meant to last. We tie our inner stability to fragile hopes and fleeting forms, wealth that can vanish, status that can be taken, praise that fades, even the affection of others, which changes with time and circumstance. And when these borrowed things shift, as they always do, we feel wounded, betrayed, unsettled. Everything outside ourselves is borrowed. Nothing external is guaranteed to remain. This truth is not cruel. It is clarifying. As Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor who ruled vast lands yet worked tirelessly to rule his own impulses, reminded himself, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. These words are not poetry alone. They are instruction. They draw a firm boundary between what belongs to us and what never did. To be attached is to live at the mercy of fortune. Today you are celebrated, tomorrow you are ignored. Today you possess, tomorrow you lose. Today the world smiles, tomorrow it turns its back. When our peace depends on these shifting conditions, we live in quiet fear, always bracing for the next loss. We call this love, ambition, or hope, but often it is simply dependence dressed in noble language. The wise understand this difference. They grieve only what lies within their power to change. They invest deeply in character, discipline, and judgment, things no storm can steal. All else they greet as visitors. Visitors may be welcomed warmly. They may be appreciated while they remain, but they are never begged to stay. And when they leave, they are not chased. Ask yourself honestly, can you recall the last time you suffered deeply over something that was never truly yours? A role, a title, a person's approval, an outcome you expected? How many nights were spent replaying what could not be controlled? How many years were lost mourning illusions, fighting against the natural movement of life? Detachment is often misunderstood. It is not coldness. It is not withdrawal. It is not indifference to life. It is clarity. It is the clarity to love without clinging, to give without demanding return, to strive without desperation. It is the strength to stand firm while the ground shifts beneath your feet. When you release attachment, you do not lose depth, you gain freedom. You still care, but you are no longer owned by what you care about. You still act, but your peace no longer depends on the result. You still engage with the world, but you are not dragged by it. This is the quiet power of detachment. It removes the sharp edge from loss. It softens disappointment. It returns authority to where it belongs within. When nothing external defines your worth, nothing external can destroy it. And in that freedom, suffering loosens its grip, not because life becomes gentle, but because you become unshaken. Expectations and their tyranny. What is an expectation but a demand upon the future? We plant seeds of hope, tending them carefully, and demand a certain harvest as if the earth owes us its bounty. Yet the soil is wild, and the rains remain unpredictable. We imagine we can control outcomes, but nature does not heed our commands. We set blueprints in our minds and then rage, mourn, and despair when reality builds something else. In this, we become prisoners not of fate, but of our own insistence that life unfold according to our will. The Stoics called this the tyranny of expectation, a subtle, relentless form of slavery that we forge for ourselves. Each time we fixate on how things should be, we tighten the chains. Epictetus, the slave who became a teacher of kings, counseled, "Seek not for events to happen as you wish, but wish for events to happen as they do, and your life will flow smoothly." His words do not ask us to abandon hope or effort, but to free ourselves from the delusion that we can demand obedience from the world. The true tyrant within is not fate, nor fortune, nor any outward misfortune. The tyrant is our refusal to accept what is. When something unexpected happens, a plan falters, a dream shatters, a trusted friend betrays us, we shout in silent protest, "This should not have happened." We argue with the universe, and always we lose. The world continues on, indifferent to our demands, while we stand still, locked in the suffering of what could have been. Expectations are born from our longing for certainty, for safety, for reward. Yet life is a river, not a paved road. We cannot predict its turns, nor can we dam its flow. The more we demand, the more turbulent our journey becomes. Every unmet expectation becomes a wound, every should a heavy burden. Freedom lies in trading expectation for acceptance. This is not surrender, but wisdom. It is to look upon each outcome, each twist of fate, with open eyes. In every disappointment, ask not, "Why me?" but "What now?" This is the pivot that sets us free. The question, "Why me?" locks us in bitterness and regret, forever looking backward at the door that closed. The question, "What now?" turns us forward, seeking the lesson, the next step, the way to move on. The moment we stop demanding that life obey us, suffering loses its hold. Acceptance is not resignation, but the power to move with life rather than against it. Each event becomes simply what is not a punishment, not a reward, but part of the fabric of existence. When we accept reality, we regain our strength. We are no longer at war with the world. We find peace. Not because everything goes our way, but because we are no longer ruled by the tyranny of expectation. Letting go as liberation. To let go is not to abandon effort or care. It is not apathy, nor is it surrender. Rather, it is freedom from the chains of outcome, a release from the prison of constant anxiety about what may come or go. Imagine grasping a handful of sand. The tighter you squeeze, the more grains slip through your fingers, falling away beyond recall. But if you hold it gently, without desperation, the sand rests quietly in your palm. So it is with life's treasures, our ambitions, our dreams, even the people we love. Cling too tightly, and all is lost. Hold with open hands, and what is meant for you will remain, at least for a time. Letting go is not a lack of investment, it is the ultimate trust. It is to accept that whatever leaves was never truly yours to keep, and whatever remains is a gift, never a guarantee. The Stoics taught that fortune is a fickle friend. She gives without warning, and she takes without apology. To live in fear of her whims is to waste the precious moments of your existence in worry. But to let go is to say, "I will care deeply, strive honestly, and yet not bind my soul to the result." This is not resignation. It is the birth of inner liberty. Liberation begins when we measure ourselves not by what we own, achieve, or retain, but by how we endure loss, by how we rise after each fall, and by the quality of our character when everything else is stripped away. What can be taken from you, wealth, status, even reputation, was never truly yours. The world can rob you of every external prize, but it cannot touch your courage, your wisdom, or your discipline. These are the treasures that abide. They are grown in adversity and guarded in the quiet fortress of the mind. To let go is to refuse to be defined by circumstances. You do not shrink in the face of loss, nor do you cling to the fleeting. You become like the great tree that weathers all seasons, losing its leaves, yet never losing itself. There is a dignity in letting go, a kind of silent power that comes from understanding what is truly yours. Letting go is the highest form of possession, for it proves that you own yourself. In that quiet surrender, there is peace, and in that peace, the soul finds its freedom. The river and the stone. Picture a stone settled deep in the heart of a river. All around it, the water moves without pause, sometimes gently, sometimes in a wild rush. Leaves float past, branches tumble and vanish. Even great boulders are pushed along by the force of the current. But the stone remains where it is, quiet and still, untouched by the wild movement around it. It does not fight the river, nor does it try to grab at what drifts by. The stone does not mourn what the water takes away, nor does it celebrate what lingers. It simply endures. This is not just an image, it is a lesson. Life is like this river. There will always be movement, change, unpredictability. One day, people will sing your praises. The next, they may find fault with every step you take. Today, your plans might grow strong and promising, but tomorrow, those same plans could collapse without warning. Opportunities, relationships, successes, even failures, all are swept along by time's current. If you try to hold on to everything, or to fight against every change, you will only wear yourself out. The river is too strong, too relentless. It does not ask your permission to flow. But the stone teaches us another way. True strength does not come from resisting the current, but from remaining steadfast within it. To be unmoved is not to be cold or unfeeling, but to stay grounded in who you are, no matter what happens outside you. There is no need to curse what is lost, nor to grasp desperately for what floats past. The stone does not seek control, it seeks peace. Will you let yourself be tossed and turned by every wave, every shift in fortune, every word from others? Or will you learn to settle yourself, to find your center, and stand firm? The river is fate, always moving, always changing. The stone is will, your own power to endure, to remain calm, to keep your inner foundation strong. In the end, everything is carried away except what you choose to hold within. Storms will come, praises will fade, plans will rise and fall. The world will not slow down for your comfort. But if you become like the stone, solid, patient, unmoved by the noise and rush around you, you will find a kind of quiet power. You will no longer waste your strength fighting battles you cannot win, nor will you lose yourself chasing after what cannot stay. You will learn what it means to be truly strong, not by holding back the river, but by holding yourself steady, always, no matter how fiercely the waters flow. The weight we carry, from the moment we open our eyes to the world, a silent burden settles upon our shoulders. Expectations form around us like invisible stones, family, society, our own restless hopes. As we move through life, we dream, we plot, we reach. At every crossroad, resistance meets us. Plans unravel, people disappoint, the world shifts without our consent. The fragile shout at the sky, blaming fate for every disappointment, every misfortune. But those who wish for mastery, who crave real peace, start with a simple, powerful recognition. Control is not granted over the world, only over the self. The wise have always known this. The Stoics, guardians of a quiet strength, left us their lessons across centuries. The chief task in life is simply this, wrote Epictetus, once a slave and later a philosopher more liberated than most rulers, to identify and separate matters so that I can say clearly to myself which are externals not under my control and which have to do with the choices I actually control. In these few words lies the map to an unburdened life. We suffer not from the world's cruelty, but from our refusal to let go of things we cannot command. We clutch at outcomes, at possessions, at relationships, desperate for certainty in a world that never promised it. But life remains untamed, prying open our hands, stripping away whatever we try to hold too tightly. We respond with grief, with anger, with endless anxiety, convinced that happiness lies just on the other side of perfect control. Yet real strength begins not in conquest, but in surrender. Not the surrender of defeat, but of clarity, a willingness to accept reality as it is. The river does not ask the stone's permission to flow. The stone, if wise, does not curse the river's path. It simply abides, whole and unchanged, letting the current wash over it. Ask yourself, what burdens are you still clutching? What outcomes do you refuse to release? The weight you feel pressing on your spirit is not placed there by the world, but by your own unwillingness to let go. We create chains with our own hands, links of fear, of longing, of stubbornness. These chains are not real. They exist only in the mind, yet they shape our entire existence. Let this be the first lesson in freedom. The heaviest burdens are those we choose to bear. If you wish to walk lighter, you must loosen your grip. Let go of the illusion of control over fate, over others, over all that is not truly yours. Turn your focus inward, where your choices, your thoughts, and your character reside. Here, and only here, are you truly free. Begin to release what you cannot hold. Feel the weight begin to lift. The only true chains are those you refuse to see, and the first step to freedom is seeing them clearly at last. The illusion of control. Picture yourself high on a mountain, arms raised as if to command the wind to hush, the clouds to scatter, the sun to shine at your slightest wish. It is an absurd fantasy, yet in subtle ways we live this delusion every day. We set our hearts on shaping the behavior of others, steering events to match the blueprints in our minds. We plan, we hope, we try to orchestrate each detail, believing if we strive hard enough, the world will answer to our will. This illusion flatters us, whispering that we are the masters of fate, that all can be bent to our desires. But reality is quick to correct us. Every disappointment, every broken plan, every betrayal or loss is a silent lesson. You do not command the world. Seneca, who lived at the center of Roman power and yet saw through its emptiness, cautioned us well. Fate leads the willing and drags along the reluctant. The world does not bend simply because we wish it so. When we waste our energy resisting what cannot be altered, when we try to make the wind obey or stop the river's flow, we find ourselves worn down, spiritless, disappointed. The world rolls on, unmoved by our protest. What then is left to us? The wise learn to look inward and mark a clear boundary. Here, and only here, is what truly belongs to me. My choices, my responses, my attitude, my character. Everything outside this line, other people's opinions, the weather, fortunes, gifts, and losses, belongs not to us, but to the tides of fate, the will of the gods, or the endless unfolding of time. Our power is not in the outer world, but in the sovereignty of our own mind. Freedom begins the day we abandon the illusion of control. In that moment, life becomes clearer, simpler, and strangely more powerful. We conserve our strength for the things that matter, our principles, our actions, our inner life. The winds may rage, the clouds may gather, fortune may come or go, but we remain anchored, unshaken. The wise do not waste themselves in the struggle to remake the world. Instead, they master themselves. Here is the secret that turns frustration into peace, clarity about what is and is not in your hands. Give up the fantasy of commanding the world, and you will discover a new kind of power, the ability to command yourself. The only true power. What is power? Some say it lies in the ability to command armies, to amass fortunes, to influence crowds, or to dictate the course of events. From childhood, we are led to believe that power is something external, something gained by force, by wealth, by titles and applause. But listen closely to the words of those who saw further. True philosophers, the clear-sighted guides through history's storms, have always taught the opposite. The only power worth seeking is the power over oneself. Musonius Rufus, a teacher whose wisdom shaped emperors, put it plainly. No man is free who is not master of himself. This is the lesson life insists on teaching us again and again. All the riches in the world, all the recognition, every advantage you can name, these are gifts granted by fortune and can be snatched away in a moment. Reputation rises and falls, money comes and goes, people's opinions shift with the wind. Try as you might, you cannot anchor yourself to anything outside your own mind. Where, then, does power live? It lives within, in the unyielding center of your character. At every turn, in every storm, you possess a single, untouchable freedom, the power to choose your response. No matter what happens outside, you betrayal, loss, chaos, or failure, no one can force you to react in a way you do not permit. It is here, in this quiet and invisible space, that real strength resides. Here you decide whether to meet adversity with anger or acceptance, whether to answer insult with bitterness or calm, whether to let the world make you small or to hold yourself steady. Everything else is borrowed. Positions and possessions are at the mercy of chance. One day you are praised, the next you are forgotten. People's approval is a shifting sand. The wise learn to stop chasing after what they cannot keep and to invest instead in what can never be taken. This is the great paradox. As soon as you stop grasping for control over others, the world, or the future, you begin to discover a deep, unwavering power within yourself. When you truly understand this, the frantic need to bend life to your will slips away. You realize that peace is not something found outside, but built from within. The world may rage around you, storms may come and go, fortune may turn her back, but your mind is your fortress. Your character, shaped by choice after choice, moment after moment, is the only crown that cannot be stolen. To master yourself is to be unconquerable. This is the only true power, not the power to rule others, but the power to rule yourself. When you find it, you become whole, complete, unassailable, and finally, truly free. Respond, do not react. There exists a space, small as the blink of an eye, between the events that strike us and the actions we take. In this space, most people do not linger. They leap without thinking, without choosing meeting insult with anger, meeting loss with despair, letting fear or frustration dictate their every move. Life's surprises hit, and reflex takes over. Words are spoken, actions unleashed, regrets pile up. This is reaction, quick, blind, automatic. But the one who seeks strength, the one who studies the art of living well, learns another way. The Stoic disciplines himself to notice that narrow pause, that hidden moment. He asks himself, is this thing before me in my control? If it is not, if it is the weather, the opinion of others, the losses that fate hands out, he lets it go, refusing to be disturbed by what he cannot alter. If it is in his power, if there is something he can shape or improve, he chooses to act, but not with wild emotion. He acts with reason, with clarity, with calm. Seneca, whose words have steadied souls for centuries, captured this lesson. He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he has not. but rejoices for those which he has. Wisdom is not found in wishing the world would change to suit your mood, but in mastering your own response to whatever the world brings. To react is to hand over the keys of your mind. You let the world, with all its storms and accidents, decide your mood, your words, your next step. You become a puppet, jerked around by circumstance. But to respond, to take that small space, to pause, to choose, is to reclaim your power. You step back from the edge. You decide, in that crucial instant, who you will be. This is a practice, not a one-time act. Each day, the world will test you. People will provoke. Plans will unravel. Fortune will turn. The choice will always return. Will you react or will you respond? The difference is subtle, but it is the dividing line between chaos and calm, between being ruled by life and ruling yourself. Let the world whirl and shout. Your task is not to command it, but to govern yourself. You cannot keep storms from rising, but you can refuse to be swept away. Pause, ask, choose. With each small moment, you build a stronger mind, a steadier soul. Let the world do what it will. You choose only how you meet it. This is the freedom the wise cherish, the power to respond, never to merely react. Destructive emotions and their roots. Why do anger, envy, and fear so often command us, shaping our thoughts and actions before we can stop them? It is because we have mistaken what truly matters for what does not. Anger erupts when we believe the world should follow our wishes, when reality refuses to fit our narrow plans. Envy rises when we compare our path to another's, longing for what is theirs instead of tending to what is ours. Fear takes root when we cling tightly to what we might lose, imagining loss around every corner, worrying over what is never promised. At the core of each of these emotions is the same mistake, reaching for control over what lies forever beyond our grasp. The ancient philosophers knew this. Marcus Aurelius, emperor over countless lives, wrote plainly in his Meditations, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment." The world will always move as it pleases. People will act as they wish. Fortune will come and go. Events will unfold with or without our blessing. Yet we make ourselves slaves to circumstance, forgetting that our greatest power is in how we interpret what happens, not in what happens itself. We imagine that, if only things would go our way, we would be at peace. If people treated us as we hope, if our fortunes always rose, if nothing was ever threatened, then perhaps these painful emotions would vanish. But this is a fantasy. The world is not made to serve our comfort. The wise do not spend their lives trying to command the uncontrollable, nor do they wait for perfect conditions before they find calm. Instead, they turn their efforts inward. They see that the real struggle is not with the world, but with their own illusions. It is not the outside event that gives rise to anger, envy, or fear, but the story we tell ourselves about what it means, about what we think we deserve or must have. The wise do not waste their strength battling with life. They examine their judgments, question their beliefs, and root out the errors that feed destructive emotion. Every battle with anger is a battle against expectation. Every battle with envy is a battle against comparison. Every battle with fear is a battle against attachment. To conquer these enemies, you must see them for what they are, signs that you are trying to control what cannot be controlled. In the end, the battle is always within. Victory is not in defeating the world, but in freeing yourself from the illusions that keep you restless and unhappy. The greatest peace comes when you stop waging war against life and start making peace with your own mind. This is the victory the wise seek, the only one that endures. Discipline of the mind. Self-mastery is not won in a single moment of triumph, but forged through steady discipline day after day. Life never ceases to test us. Temptation appears in 1,000 forms. The urge to clutch tight